you all very much for having us here in the city. My sister Michelle and I were very much there when all of this took place, and Richard came to our city, and we thank him for doing that, and inquired about my grandfather, along with many other people who read the article that was written by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram regarding my grandfather's desire to go to school for the first time at the age of 98. When my grandfather first came to us with this idea, we thought, oh my God, really? And we didn't even know you couldn't read, so tell us about it. Because all of our life, he's always encouraged us to get an education and to always strive to do the best that you could and to be the best person that you could. And it just never occurred to me that he couldn't read or write. I guess I just missed that because there were so many other wonderful things about him that always kept my attention. One, that we had gatherings at his house because he always liked to fish and he liked to cook, as Richard found out. So he would always fry fish, and we would come over and help him eat all the fish he was frying. Now I'm afraid of what he ate. but it was always good. So we were just never, I personally, was never aware of the fact that he could not read or write. And when he mentioned that somebody had come to his house and asked him, well, the way he told me was, he gave us all nicknames, so he called me by my nickname, and he said, I'm going to school. I said, you going where? So he said, yeah. He said, this guy came to my house, and he wanted to know if I want to go to school. He said, I told him yes. I said, well, what are you studying? I'm thinking we're talking about upper level school and education. He says, I'm going to learn how to read. And I said, young man, you don't know how to read? Because when I felt like I had neglected him on some level, because he had encouraged me to do so much, and I felt like, wow, all these years I didn't know that because I didn't ask the right questions. And I kind of felt responsible a little bit that I didn't take the time to ask the right questions. So when he mentioned that, I was really concerned, and I wanted to know, well, you're going to go to school. Do you really feel like you can do this? He said, yeah, I feel like I can do it. He said, all they got to do is teach me. He said, they teach me, I can learn. So he started his venture, and the rest is history as far as him learning, because he was right. If somebody just took the time and paid attention to him, then he could learn anything he set his mind to, because I knew his determination was there. His willpower was there, because he always encouraged us to be determined and have an attitude that nothing is impossible. If you want it, you can attain it. So I knew that if he set his mind to it, that he would be able to do it. And I asked him, I said, well, Jump Daddy, we call him Jump Daddy. So you'll hear that freely come out of my mouth because that's what I'm comfortable with. But I said to him, after you learn how to read, I said, then what are you going to do? And he said, first thing I want to do is read my Bible. He said, because people always told me about the Bible, and I always heard people talk about it, but I've never been able to read it for myself. He said, so I want to be able to read my Bible. And then he said to me that he wanted to be able to write his name. And he was able to do and to learn both of those things, and he was able to read his Bible and write his name before the Lord took him home. And he said, I used to ask him all the time, because you saw on the video, he was very vibrant. He was up and down, and he could walk and do whatever he wanted to do and live by himself. And I would say to him, and he said later some reporters asked him, but I would ask him all the time myself, how long do you think the Lord's going to leave you here? You've just been here so long. But he told the reporter, he said, I'm going to live as long as until the Lord tells me to die. And he meant that literally. He was going to live as long as the Lord left him here to live. And he did that. He did it in great style, great fashion to me. And I am so grateful that the Lord allowed us to have him as a part of my life and to encourage us to move forward and realizing that all of your dreams are possible. You've just got to have the desire and determination to attain them. So I, again, thank you all for honoring my grandfather and for having us here. Thank you, Richard, who has become a great part of our family. I started addressing him many years ago as my Uncle Richard because he has become such a part of our family. And that was an interesting feat in itself because when we started this, I just didn't think that my grandfather would really take on to the idea of having someone who was not African American come into his life and actually divulge information about himself the way that he did. And to me, that was a great story in itself, was to have the two cultures actually come together and become one unit. They really became family. And because they became family, we all became family. With Richard's family, Jody, and his children, we all became family. And that was one of the greatest stories told throughout this whole thing for me, because we do have racial issues. So that was one of the greatest stories that came out of this to me, along with the literacy. So again, Michelle, my sister, and I, thank you, along with the Dawson family, for all that you're doing for my grandfather. If you haven't read the book, it's a great story.